what we're talking about today is, I'm just moving my notes over there. I'm actually talking today about building a platform, and it follows on from last week's talk on writing a bestseller. But don't worry if you missed last week, because this is a standalone lecture, because this applies to just establishing your expertise and really finding ways of practically and easily and elegantly promoting yourself and positioning yourself as the go-to expert within your sphere. So it applies to the bestseller writing, but also if you didn't see that one, as I say, you can always go back and watch that video if writing is your bag. If it's not, this lecture is just fine as a standalone lecture. Okay, so I just feel weird saying lecture, because I was thinking it's all terribly sort of censorious, but actually no, it's all good, and it's all very, very easygoing. And actually, when I was writing my notes for you today for this tutorial, let's not call it a lecture, I realized actually that I'm going to have to ping these notes over to Megan and get her to do the artwork to create this into an ebook, because actually there's an awful lot here that is very, very useful for any of us, no matter where we are in our careers. So it's funny actually, because it was just flowing. I had the muse visited me, and it was just flowing. I was typing away thinking, gosh, this is really quite magical. So anyway, here we go, without further ado. So what exactly is a platform, and why should we care? Okay, a platform is an intentional approach to growing your business by making your message highly visible. Do you remember, if you were with me last week, I shared a quote, and it basically was about writers. Who are writers? And the quote was, writers are people who have things to say. And I loved that, because I love the idea of having things to say. And it's all about, yes, you have got a point of view, you have got a perspective. And it's that, I know I repeat this a lot, but you know how I talk about being the expert in your niche, and promoting your expertise and so on. And a lot of people in complementary medicine, I find, are quite humble, and they will say, but I'm not really an expert. I've only just got into the profession, or I've only just passed my exams. I'm not an expert. Well, the point is, it doesn't matter where you are in your career, because your expertise is born of your life experience to date, your unique viewpoint, your take on things. So even if you are a newbie practitioner, you still have a valid life experience. You still have a reason for getting into complementary medicine in the first place, which is probably born of an experience with your particular discipline. With my experience looking back over the last 28 years, that's certainly the pattern that I see with people who've joined the Complementary Medical Association over years. So we're talking about literally tens of thousands of practitioners. So that seems, I haven't conducted a study on this, but it seems to be the empirical kind of evidence that's what that suggests. So a platform is an intentional approach to growing your business by making your message highly visible, so that you become the go-to expert within your particular niche. Okay, so we're going to talk about what that niche is, how to create that niche, and we will be linking back obviously to some of the other videos that we've put up on the CMA YouTube channel. Now, whether you're a writer, a practitioner, a teacher, or something else entirely, if you've got something to say, you need to get it heard, and this is what a platform will actually do for you. Having a platform helps people to get to know who you are, and more importantly, it helps people to form a connection with you. We talk about this quite often, particularly in the more marketing-focused tutorials. We talk about the know, like, and trust factor. Dare I change that up and talk about the know, love, and trust factor? Because when people get to know you, get to understand what you do, and get to trust the information that you put out there, they can also start to really love what you do and really like, they like you, but they love what you do. So, we're going to elevate that know, like, and trust factor to a know, love, and trust factor. So when you put information out into the world, it's got to be valid. It's got to be valuable. So we're going to come on to that in a bit. So a platform ultimately is anything that can assist you in getting seen or heard or read. It can be online, it can be a blog, it can be your website, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, if you're that way inclined, you're down with the youth, or anything that is a way of showcasing you, essentially. So it could be broadcast, TV and radio, for example, or it could be real world, such as writing books or columns for magazines and newspapers or anything like that. So really, the world is your oyster. The most important point is that whatever vehicle you choose, you must share value. You have to give people a reason to consume your content in whatever way you put it out there. The upshot, if you like, of providing all of this content, this value and so on, is that if it has genuine use and true value, you will very quickly be seen to be the go-to expert in your particular area. You will get the speaking engagements. You will be invited to be the podcast guest. You will be invited to do guest post requests and takeover opportunities and so on. If you don't know what takeovers are, for example, I've done quite a few of these for Natural Health magazine on their Instagram and also their Facebook pages. So a takeover is where essentially somebody that likes you for whatever reason, perhaps you contribute regularly to their publication or their podcast or what have you, they just turn over their site to you. Obviously, they know you're not going to, they know you, so they know you're not going to put anything compromising up on their platform or anything that could really discredit their brand in any way. But what they're doing is they are showcasing you. It takes a lot of trust and a lot of relationship building. And this is a lot about what we're going to be talking about today is relationship building. But if you do build relationships with people, and we'll come on to the how and whys and wherefores of all of that in a moment, then what you'll find is that your world completely opens up. It is really crucial to actually start to cultivate relationships. If you do that, you will find, as I say, that you'll be asked and invited to do all of these different things. And it's really lovely because the more you do, the more you will get repeat readers, blog visitors, viewers, subscribers, followers, and more. You will build a loyal fan base, a loyal following who will become essentially your flag wavers. Now, the one thing I need to say at this point is that you don't need a huge audience to get started. If you can build relationships, you'll find that you don't have to work quite so hard to try to be seen. One of the problems, and I've done it myself, and I'm sure we've all done it, is that we end up thinking that we've got to be on every social platform there is, and we've got to be writing blogs, and we've got to be doing podcasts, and we've got to be doing this and this and this and this and this. And the truth of the matter is, no, you don't. You first of all got to drill down to where your audience is. Where does your audience hang out? I'm going to mention this just briefly now, but I'll come on to it a bit in a little bit later, because I just want to talk about your audience and your niche and your avatar a little bit later on, just to remind you of the structure of all of that. But as I say, you don't need to build a platform. You don't need to be huge, because if you can build relationships, what will happen is that those people will become your flag wavers. They will publicize you by giving shout outs. A shout out is where somebody who's got a lot of followers will say, my goodness, look, go and see Mary, go and click on her site because she's doing something absolutely amazing. And, things like shout outs are fantastic. Being a guest on a podcast, leveraging somebody else's audience is the most amazing opportunity. But you're not being, it's not a parasitic relationship. It's a sort of relationship where there's give and take, and there's equal advantage to both sides. So who do you reach out to? You reach out to people who have a similar but not directly competing audience or interests to your own. Also, consider reaching out to people who may work in quite a different field, but their followers or readers or viewers are your demographic. It's basically going to be the same or very similar to your own client avatar, your ideal client avatar. Now, if you recall, way back when, last year, we did a CMA tutorial on how to create your avatar. Your avatar, just to remind you, is your ideal imaginary, completely imaginary client. But what the advantage is of really understanding your avatar is it helps you to shape your thinking, your marketing messages, the way that you create your sentence structures, the syntax that you use, and so it's the most valuable exercise that you can do, because if you can have this imaginary person, sit them over the desk from you and imagine having a conversation with them, finding out about their likes, their dislikes, what keeps them up at night, what their worries are, what their health issues are, that sort of thing. It will really help to distill where you need to put your focus, your efforts for promotion and so on. When you do the avatar exercise, you'll very quickly come to have a really deep understanding of where does this ideal client of mine actually hang out. Yes, it may be an imaginary exercise, but imaginary exercises are incredibly powerful. In fact, in this session today, I've got a couple of exercises for you that we will briefly go through, and then you can take them away and do them for yourself. So it's a strange thing when people say, gosh, but this avatar is just imaginary. The point is, by imagining something, we sort of somehow bring it to life. And when we do that, even though it's in our own psyche, what actually happens is that it sort of magnetically attracts people, because we are putting out into the world what we actually want to have coming back to us. So what do I need to do next? So I'm just going to pin that video there. So the more time and the people that you invest time in building relationships with will help you to become more visible and will actively help you to grow your platform. So going back to shout outs, just to give you an example of the power of somebody who has the same audience as you, but they operate in a completely different way. And it came as a surprise to me, because I didn't know that this person was doing a shout out for me. But it was actually Dr. Michael Clapper. Now, I know that some of you will know Dr. Michael Clapper very well. He is a medical doctor, also a surgeon, and he is one of the leading lights in plant-based living, plant-based education, and so on. And what happened was that last Christmas or the Christmas? No, of course not last Christmas, the Christmas before, we created that wonderful recipe book for you, plant-based whole food recipe book. And we had lots of lovely recipes in there. And one of the recipes I put in there was something called happy soup. It's a sort of a Chinese soup that hails back to my many, many years living in Southeast Asia. And it is also, I call it sort of happy soups. My subtitle is Magical Medicinal Mushroom Soup. And it's just got all sorts of wonderful, wonderful, healthy ingredients in it. And ultimately, it's a highly anti-inflammatory soup. And anyway, the National Health Association in the USA caught wind of this recipe book, and they, in their magazine, published excerpts from it, which was a lovely shout out, most unexpected. So that was a shout out in a magazine that went out to loads and loads of, millions of people across the USA. And then Michael Clapper's wife looked at the recipe. She really liked it. Elise is a lovely lady. I know Michael and Elise anyway. They're dear friends. And anyway, she made the soup. Michael loved the soup so much. And it's so funny because Elise snapped a picture of Michael. He's got his bowl of soup in his hand and he's going like that with a great big smile. And they just put that on their social media. And suddenly, literally my socials blew up as a result. And I wasn't expecting it. I didn't know that was going to happen. I haven't even put a recipe out there aside from in the recipe book. So I actually need to get the recipe up and do a sort of a cook along thing on YouTube. And that's one of my jobs for the weekend. But it just goes to show that, sometimes magical things can happen when you least expect them. And so it grew my following literally overnight. And if you get a shout out from a big influencer like that, strange things can happen. So, the world truly is your oyster when it comes to online, but it's all about relationship building. Michael and Elise know me. They know that my work is credible and so on and so forth. So, I guess they felt, it was a nice thing to do. So there we go. So the thing about growing a platform, back to that now, is that instead of trying to get attention from gazillions of people, if you build real relationships with influencers, the opportunities will start to roll in. The people that you befriend will introduce you to their contacts and so on and so on and so on. All of this saves you from becoming exhausted by trying to be everywhere at once. The trick with creating relationships that work to grow your reputation and your people's knowledge about you is ensuring that the relationships that you create are win-win. As I said, this is not a parasitic situation at all. It's not that somebody's got a load of followers and you're just going to go leech onto them and suck. It's basically the situation has to be that you have something to give. You've got to bring value. You've got to bring a viewpoint. You've got to bring something that is worth them spending the time to put you in front of their audience. Remember that if you were to say something that wasn't on message with what that person was putting out, if you were to say something that might compromise their integrity or their professionalism or what have you, they could potentially lose their audience. For example, Ariana Grande lost, was it Ariana Grande? No, it wasn't. It was Rita Ora. She lost 1 million followers overnight because of a credibility issue, because of partying when she went during lockdown, and everybody thought that was really shabby. And you put a foot wrong and you can completely lose your audience. So when somebody's putting their trust into you to invite you on their podcast or invite you on to do a takeover of their Instagram or whatever it is, you've got to make sure that you are delivering, and you are delivering on message with what they are putting out. I'm not saying that you need to compromise your message in any way, shape or form, because that would not be a good fit. It's got to be a really good fit, which is why you've got to do your research. And we're going to come on to that in a bit. So you, as I say, you don't need to have a big audience to begin with, but if you provide value to somebody, you're actually doing them a great big favor. It's exhausting to constantly come up with valuable content for anybody, whether they're a journalist, a blogger, a YouTuber, or what have you. So you are supporting this person by providing good, valuable content as a guest, for example. You might be submitting a brilliantly incisive article or a compelling YouTube takeover or what have you. But as I say, and I cannot emphasize this, it's got to be high quality. So I've got some exercises for you, and we'll start with the first one. I think one of the best things to do when you are starting out to look at ways that you can grow your platform is by drilling right back to the very, very beginning and going back to your why. Now, I talk about Simon Sinek and one of the most popular YouTube videos of all time, What is my why, or what is your why? If we go back and look at our why did we start doing this in the first place? You start to get immense clarity. And I think that's incredibly helpful. So here we go. Let's look at how we can get focused. When we focus, it gives us a really deep understanding of what we want to achieve, and more importantly, why we want to achieve it. When you know your why, it acts as a really intense driver. It pushes you forward. So if you ever find, this is a little side tip, but if you ever find yourself sort of really flagging in your career, because, complementary medicine is not an easy career. It really isn't. It's fraught with difficulty for many, many different reasons, particularly in lockdown right now. But, the point is, if you go back to your why did I get involved with this in the first place? It starts to kind of revivify all of those emotions and so on. So here's the exercise. What I'd like you to do, and this is just when you have a quiet moment, not right now, but just when you have a quiet moment, spend some time to quietly examine what your deepest motivations are for wanting to grow your practice or your school or anything else for that matter. Importantly, in this exercise, just focus on one topic per session. Otherwise, it will get very muddy and very confusing. The idea is that we get clarity, and by bringing extra topics in, we're going to be looking at this and looking at this and looking at this and turning ourselves around in circles, and that's just no good to man nor beast. So just take one particular topic, whether it's, well, I want to grow my training school, and here's why, or why did I originally want to become a practitioner, or why do I want to write this book, and so on. Okay, so ask yourself questions such as, why did I want to become a practitioner in the first place? Why did I want to set up a training school? Or anything else that you feel is appropriate. Go right back to the roots of your interest in this field and really get to grips with all of the emotions that you felt back then. Remember, if those feelings had a particular nature, was there anything that you could hear or see or feel or smell or taste? What were your emotions? Were you excited? Was there a sense of determination, curiosity, anything else? Just take time to really delve into that, asking those questions of yourself. Take time to let the answers arise and involve as many sensory cues as you possibly can, because it will make it all the more real for you. It will take you back to that sense of excitement that you had right at the very, very get-go. And it will just give you that extra injection, that rocket fuel that you need to go, yeah, okay, I can get back on track. I can do this. And it'll just really kind of catalyze you towards really wanting to take your work. If you feel jaded, it'll catalyze you getting your work back out into the world. Note the answers that come up down in your journal or similar, and date the exercise. This is important, as you'll want to come back to it from time to time. I feel that this is an exercise that is great to do if you're feeling sort of like jaded, or you have that sort of sense of ennui kind of creeping in, or what have you. Or if you're just fine, you're just bobbling along though, and you need a bit of an energy injection, just kind of mark it in your diary to do it every 3 months or 6 months, whatever feels right for you and your situation. It's interesting because this exercise looks at the past. You'll find out that our why actually evolves as we remember more things from back then as well. But it also, you'll find that you'll also start to be able to add elements of discovery from more recent times. So that's the first exercise. And then I'm just going to have a sip of water. Excuse me 1 second. I've been speaking all day. It's my voice. Oh, it goes after a while. Oh, lovely. That's nice. And we've got another exercise for you now as well. So this exercise, not looking back at the past, this is a future looking exercise, but it's also to do with the present as well. Future statements are a very powerful way to step into the future version of yourself. I mean, I know that you know that inner rock star who is the absolute go-to authority is there. This person is inside you. This exercise is a really simple way to get clear on who that person is and to connect with him or her every single day. Now, this is a great exercise, and I would love it if you could do this 7 days in a row. And if we do that, you'll find that things will really start to change. So this is another one. Grab your journal or wherever you keep your notes, and just want to give you a couple of tips just before we begin. The trick to answering these questions is to answer them in the present tense, as if they are happening and real and in the now. Honestly, to get this exercise to work, you need to look really carefully at the things that are meaningful to you. We each have different things, if you like, signifiers of success or signifiers of empowerment or signifiers of doing a job really well. So they're going to be different for each of us. So I got some silly examples at the end, but it'll give you an idea of what this is all about. So here are the questions. What am I doing as the go-to authority? So what am I doing as the go-to authority? Now, I will be, as I say, turning this into an ebook, so don't worry too much about even trying to answer the questions for any of the exercises today, because you'll be able to look at the ebook and download it if you would like it. Obviously, we can send it to you if you're interested. I was going to say also, what am I doing as the go-to authority? And then the next thing to look at, if this is meaningful for you, is how much money am I making? If that's a meaningful thing for you, if that's a target, if it comes up in your dreams as a signifier of success in whatever way. How do these matters impact my life? So, for example, then I'd like you to list 1 to 3 concrete ways that all of this stuff, whatever it is that you've come up with, actually impacts your life. So, for example, am I living in my dream home? Or we should, as I say, phrase the concrete ways that this impacts on your life by phrasing it in the present. As I'm sure you've all seen things like the law of attraction, you've got to say it as if it's already happened. It's in the present, it's fact. That's what, the situation is, no ifs, buts or maybes. So you might write down things like, I live in my dream home. And you might want to write who you live with, if anybody. You might say something like, I have a house manager who cooks and cleans and does the laundry. I have a gardener who looks after the grounds. You don't have a garden, you've got grounds. I have my own private Learjet. I have the freedom to go on my super yacht whenever I wish. My goodness, let your freak flag fly. Whatever it is, no pun intended, but whatever it is that floats your boat or your super yacht. Honestly, it can be anything. It could be my small holding is flourishing and my pygmy goats are wonderfully gambling around the fields in their jumpers, because pygmy goats like to wear jumpers and pajamas, as we all know, because we've seen them all on YouTube, haven't we? My cats love me and they snuggle and purr with me every night. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter, whatever it is. But because this is a business-focused tutorial and practice growth and training school growth tutorial, obviously, I assume that you're also wanting to look at business things. So obviously, this is where we target, So yes, for example, you might say my turnover is XYZ by the end of this year, and my profitability is XYZ at the end of this year. Now, that's just an aside, okay? So, for example, there's no point in just saying, "Oh, my turnover is XYZ," because you may have no profitability in that, which means you might as well not have bothered, because it's you're not going to be able to grow your practice or your business in any way, shape, or form if you haven't got profitability built in. So, you look at business structure. Look how you want your business to be working. Maybe you could say, maybe what's meaning for you is saying, I have impacted the lives of over 1 million people by the end of 2021. That's the sort of thing that we could potentially look at. And again, this all comes back to why we need a platform, because if we're going to impact lives, if we're going to grow our businesses, we've got to find ways of getting our message out there. And that's what platform building is all about. So coming back to being really practical, these exercises are practical, but I'm saying, do dream, do let your freak flag fly, and just put out there, into the universe what it is that you want without sounding too woo-woo about it. Honestly, if you read any of the books by Dr. Dean Radin, or if you read, I'm trying to think, Blink, or any of these books, you'll find that when we do take the time to write things down and to phrase things in the present tense, the chances of them materializing are infinitely greater. Now, whether that's just because, you know, we've put something out there, it's gone into our subconscious, and we start to notice cues that we can take advantage of. And, you know, perhaps we might spend more time looking at influencers that we could contact and contribute to, or whether it's just the fact that, you know, we're more inclined to work slightly harder on honing our website, or whatever it is. We don't know the reasons. There are too many variables. But the point is that these things work. We know they do. The science says they do. You know, I don't make this stuff up as I go along. It's all science, all research based. So, okay, practically, what can we do to start to grow this platform? Let's write. One of the best ways to get your name out there and build credibility is to write and share your thoughts publicly. Put yourself out there and start becoming what they call it's searchable. So somebody puts your name into Google and you come up. Now, I don't recommend Googling yourself, especially if, like me, you've got a gazillion ton of trolls and haters out there. It gets a bit disconcerting because, you know, all of the nasty stuff floats up to the top, and the really nice things people say about you, you know, they don't. They probably, people email nice things to you, or they might write something nice on your Facebook platform, but that never comes up in a Google search. But my goodness, the troll sites and the hater websites are out there, and they're very well optimized to come up. But honestly, you know, but don't worry about those, because it's a sign that you've made it. Honestly, if people take the time to troll you and hate you, it means that you've made a massive enough impact on the world to have been noticed. And, you know, as I always say with trolls and haters, never engage with them. Let them get on, lead their sad little lives, and just, you know, just ignore it and just go on being fabulous and helping more people. You know, people wouldn't bother to hate on you or troll you if you weren't putting good out into the world, because, you know, the brighter you shine your light, the more the darkness is attracted to it, because it needs the light. It's desperate for the light. So again, slightly metaphysical, but anyway, there we go. So here's my top tip, and I'm going to share my screen in a moment. I just want to read my notes here. I wanted to find out if you have come across a site called Haro, H-A-R-O. Haro stands for Help a Reporter Out. The website address is www.helpareporter.com. This site sends out requests and alerts from journalists looking for sources for their stories. My writer friends and I have had immense success using the requests on Haro, and we've been featured in places such as Fast Company, Women's Health, HuffPost, obviously Natural Health Magazine, the Times, Sunday Times, Daily Mail, Bustle, Britain Co, Sway, Forbes, Vogue, Elle, Hello, Grazia, Business Insider, and so on. Many, many, many more. But create an account on Haro and set up your alerts. Now, let me go over here. And what I want to do is to share my screen. So I want to show you. Right, okay. Let me just spread this out a wee bit. Okay, share screen. There we go. I want to share my, I'm going to, sorry about this. I'm just going to share my desktop. Okay. Right. Okay. And I want to go over here, and I want to go here. Okay, lovely. I'm hoping that you're all going to be able to see that. Can you just give me a thumbs up and let me know if you can see my desktop? Yep, brilliant. Okay, great. So this is an email from Haro. And right, here we go. Let me see. So this is the way it presents. The intro is, want to learn how to master the media and land more stories in the press. Peter Shankman, founder of Haro, is discounting his Master the Media online course by a lot. Oh, that's quite nice to know. So, That's interesting. Since some of us have unexpected downtime right now, here's a perfect way to become better at getting publicity. Usually priced at $747, Peter is offering lifetime access to Master Media for $99 for a limited time. I've not checked that out, but it may possibly be worth taking a look at. I don't know. I've not seen it. But normally what you'll get from Haro are the queries. So first of all, you'll get a list that you just sort of look down and think, now, is any of this appropriate to me? And let's see. So we've got here the first one, RDs. So registered dietitians needed to discuss and compare different ways of tracking food intake for MyFitnessPal. As you know, I'm sure MyFitnessPal is a huge app and huge website. So that would be a very good thing, but they are looking for RDs. A lot of these inquiries are going to be American, but it doesn't matter if you are helping out American websites or journalists or what have you, because it still grows your platform and your credibility. So if you are the right kind of person to answer these questions, then, by all means. So have a little look down and see if anything is appealing to you. And then you think, gosh, okay, some of these look good. So what happens then? You can click on one. Let's say, why do you weigh less in the morning? And it takes you to the summary. So this is what the journalist has submitted to Haro. They've said, summary, why do you weigh less in the morning? The name of the journalist is Sydney Ellis, and she's writing for Pop Sugar. It's in the category of lifestyle and fitness, and that's her email address there. And their deadline. Now, always meet the deadline. If there's one thing I have to tell you, it's always hit the deadline. And Sydney says, I'm looking for a doctor to answer the following questions about why do you weigh less in the morning? Questions. Why do you weigh less in the morning? Is it the same for women and men? What are typical weight differences between morning and evening? Is there anything else you want to add? So her requirements in this particular question are MD, medical doctor, or doctor of osteopathy. So maybe okay for people in the group, maybe not so okay. What about this one? 6 signs you have toxic in-laws and what to do about it. Category lifestyle and fitness, fatherly. So we can assume that fatherly is probably an outlet for men who are fathers. Query, how do you know if your in-laws are toxic? What do you do if you're just treated like garbage by your in-laws? If they don't abide by your rules or simply don't care what you say because they're grandparents? I'd like to hear from some experts about what defines toxic in-laws and then provide 6 telltale signs in which a person can try to handle this behavior. So if you're involved in psychotherapy or counseling or any of those sorts of things and you work with family dynamics, that would be an ideal one for you. Okay, now this one doesn't really deserve to be in lifestyle and fitness, the best German watch brands. I have no idea why that's there, so we can probably safely ignore it. No, that doesn't. No, connoisseurs of German watches. No. Okay. Okay. Oh, sometimes they have people looking for collaborations, and this particular lady wants samples for a food and drink gift guide, and let's have a little look. Yeah, so you'd have to find out what that guide is before you start sending your products off or contacting her and saying, look, I've got this product, XYZ, is it suitable? But again, that could be a fantastic way of showcasing your products, if you have them, to a wide audience. Look, there's another one, how work-life balance can make you a better employee. So again, she's looking for people who are life coaches, job coaches, or really anybody who's been successful in achieving a work-life balance. So that is going to a really bizarre outlet called Go Banking Rates. Now, that'll be one of those websites that is an aggregator of content. So what they will do is they put interesting, so they've got different bank rates and so on, but they will actually put lots of lifestyle content to make the site kind of worth visiting. It makes the site what's called sticky, to use the sort of the marketing language. Hair experts for vital proteins. I'm working on an article for vital proteins about unhealthy hair, looking for hair experts to continue. So that could be a nutritionist. It could be somebody who works with essential oils, for example, and so on. So you get the kind of picture here. The next one we've got is we need a psychologist or a mental health expert on saying no to Zoom. I'm not sure, as we're on Zoom, we should be saying no to Zoom. But anyway, you know what I mean. The mental impact of constant Zoom meetings in both professional and personal settings, why it's important to turn the Zoom down sometimes. And obviously, as we would know, what you would be saying is, you've got to kind of prioritize what you're doing on Zoom because it's such a useful tool. So anyway, it gives you a feel, and this comes out every day. You can actually set your, I just get mine weekly, but let me go back. Okay, I get mine weekly, and I have to say, I do always check through just to see if there's anything that is directly related to my particular field in complementary medicines. Obviously, for me, natural anti-aging, immunology, autoimmune disease, that sort of thing. So check it out. It's a really valuable thing to do. Writers and journalists like to include quotes from experts to bolster their argument. You want to be that expert. By being quoted by someone else gets you recognized by a different audience, and it massively widens your exposure and your impact. Haro, even if you're not submitting full articles, just get yourself mentioned and ensure that you are properly credited. So if you're giving a quote, you give the quote in exchange for your website details or your email address or however it is that you want people to contact you. CMA member Rebecca Lockwood found Haro to be immensely helpful in growing her platform. In my notes, I've actually got a link to that CMA tutorial that we did just before Christmas. Rebecca was the lady, if you remember, who expected at the beginning of 2020 to probably turn over about 60,000, which is not bad in practice at all. I'm sure we'll all agree. But she ended up turning over £250,000 and massively growing her business because she took the time to just push. She used that downtime to push to grow her profile, and she used Haro pretty much non-stop, actually. So it just goes to show the power of what can be done. So when you become the go-to person on a particular topic, you must demonstrate your expertise. Now, this can be through your professional experience and your writing. Journalists find people they want to quote by using the internet to search topics and identify individuals who are knowledgeable about the subject. Obviously, to make this work, you've got to make sure your website is fully optimized to include the keywords that are directly relevant to your sphere of expertise. So what I mean by that is that on your website, you can actually put you can structure articles to be search engine optimized. This is not a lecture on SEO, which is search engine optimization for short. But there are ways and means of doing this. If you've got your own Weebly or Wix website, you can actually do this quite easily because they've got a little SEO bit at the side that actually helps you and shows you how to do it. It's all about putting the right keywords in there. If you have a site that's been built for you by somebody else, then you're going to have to talk to them and say, look, I want to SEO my website, and they will actually then work with you to do that. They will say things like, so what are your keywords? Your keywords are things like, what is it that you do? So you can use keywords like aromatherapy or aromatherapy massage, essential oils, aromatherapy oils, essential oil massage. So you see all the permutations. If you're an aromatherapist, obviously, if you're a homeopath, that's not going to work for you. But so you'd be using words like homeopathy, homeopathic remedies, homeopathic treatments, homeopathic consultations, consultations for homeopathy, using homeopathy for optimum health, that sort of thing. So you see where I'm going with that. You've got to really talk in using tags and keywords that are totally relevant to your offering. Hope that makes sense. Don't forget, you can leave questions in the chat box. I'm just going to see if, we've got some some questions. I'm just going to open the chat box there. I've been reading my notes and sort of riffing on my notes. So leveraging email, communicate via email what you're doing and your successes. Share your writing if you're doing writing, or if you're blogging. In your signature at the end, you should see my signature. It goes on and on and on and on and on. Half the time I end up just deleting it, because once somebody's seen my signature, they don't ever want to see it again. It's just, it's like, and Janie's latest book is this, and you can contact her on Facebook, and you can contact her on Instagram, and you can contact her on YouTube. Watch her latest YouTube video here. Anyway, but it's impressive. If somebody isn't familiar with you, it's very useful information. I know I'm sort of being quite self-deprecating there, but I do delete it. But when somebody's heard from me once already, they don't need to see that great big stream of information. If this is your first contact with somebody, and if it's particularly if you're communicating with a business, for example, if you're wanting to take your services into corporate world, for example, you've got to have as much credibility in your email signature as you can possibly get. If you can point people to your blog or your website or your YouTube or whatever it is that you're doing to build your platform, so much the better, because you just never quite know who's looking at that stuff. And obviously, we've spoken at length about social media, but as I say, you've got to pick your platform. You've got to use your time efficiently. Where does your audience hang out? Ask them. If you're not sure, find out. Do a little straw poll, perhaps on your Facebook group or in your Facebook. Yes, poll in your Facebook group. Find out what their preferred social media is. Okay, so we know they're already on Facebook if you're using Facebook to do the poll, but they might actually be using Instagram more. They might prefer that. It might be surprising for you because the demographics of all of these different platforms are changing. For example, lots of younger people have migrated away from Facebook and gone on to things like TikTok and other platforms. The Instagram is starting to become much more relevant for our sector. So you can start to maybe think about using Instagram, but don't burn yourself out. That's crucial because you can burn yourself out with all of these things. Just to share our strategy here at the CMA, so you know how we do things. So speaking to you right now, I'm speaking about two different brands. I'm speaking about the Complementary Medical Association brand, and I'm also happy to share what I do for my own personal brand because they're both slightly different, but they are similar. So with my own social brand, so that's janiegoddard.com. So that's my website on which I have a blog. I make YouTube videos on topical topics. That's a truism, if ever there was one. So topics that people are interested in. And how do I know? Because in my Facebook group, which is called Rewind Your Body Clock, same name as my book, handy coincidence, I think not. I called it that because I set that group up when Rewind Your Body Clock was first published. So I figured that people were going to be going onto YouTube and Facebook and searching Rewind Your Body Clock. They probably weren't going to be searching my name necessarily. So I called my group, my closed Facebook group, Rewind Your Body Clock. So I make a YouTube video and a YouTube social post. Okay. The YouTube video goes up on Thursdays once Megan has had a chance to top and tail it with my sting. That's the swooshy, theme-tuney music that just lasts a couple of seconds, but it's the brand. Okay, you know that, oh, it's another Janie video. Okay, so that you do the swooshy, sort of swooshy musically sting, then you go straight into the video, and then you have your call to action, and then you do your outro, which is the swooshy, sort of musical sting, and also places that people can go videos people can look at next to keep it bingeable. That's what you've got to do. We spoke about this not last week, but the week before when we were talking about YouTube. So, what else do we do from a social media perspective? So the topic that I spoke about in the video happens to have come from a blog post that Megan posted for me on my website. Now, why do I have somebody else doing this? It's because we're so busy here you know, I'm busy looking after the Complementary Medical Association, and my brand definitely takes second place to that. But nevertheless, you know, I have a brand and I'm growing it, and it's useful because it also helps me to teach you, because I'm, you know, not just making this stuff up as I go along, but I'm seeing what works for my, you know, for growing my audience and so on. And so I write the blog. Megan puts it up onto the website. I then make the video. Megan then edits it and puts it up onto YouTube. And then she puts the tags in for me, which is very important. And you'll remember about tagging from the YouTube video, which is on the CMA YouTube channel. We also then put a post in Instagram just to say, hey guys, a new video has gone up and this is what it's about, and you'll find it over there. And what else? Do we put it anywhere else? Oh, and of course on the social pages, on my professional page, my Jamie Goddard business page on Facebook, and my Rewind Your Body Clock group, I also talk about the fact that that video has gone live and the blog has gone live. Okay, so we're taking one piece of content actually, and we're repurposing it a gazillion different ways. And that is the shortcut to you getting content out there without going absolutely nuts and driving yourself into the ground like a tent peg. Okay, you've got to use your time really intelligently, because of course also, you know, you're running training schools and you're looking after patients and you're doing this, that and the other. So please take heed, and please model that tactic, because it works. It truly works. Now, of course, with the CMA, we have I also have a newsletter that goes out to my mailing list on Fridays rather, and that's really growing. My mailing list is really growing because of this tactic. Okay, so it does work. I can promise you it works, because it's really growing all of my following and so on. Okay, and growing my mailing list. The mailing list is what counts. It's no point in having 10 million followers on Instagram or YouTube or Facebook or wherever, because if that channel decides to take you down for whatever reason, or you suddenly lose 1 million followers overnight because somehow they decide they don't like something that you said or did, then what can happen is that you just lose those people. They're gone. That's it. End of story. You have no ownership over any of those platforms. So you must find ways of seeding your contacts on these platforms onto your email list so that you can stay in contact with them. That way, then you've got something of true value. Okay, I hope you're really, I don't know if you're writing that bit down, but that's probably one of the most important things that I could possibly ever tell you. Okay, from a practice development, training school development, you know, just growing your complementary medical business. So yeah, please take heed. Right, okay, let me just have a little look at my other notes. Oh yeah, another place to put yourself is Quora. Quora is the platform I've spoken about in the past. Quora is that wonderful platform that actually allows you to answer questions. People put questions up on Quora. You can go into different groups, join different groups, so you see the right questions coming up. You can join health and wellness, you could join aromatherapy, you could join aging, you could join mothers and babies, whatever your special interest is, nutrition, whatever, you know, whatever it is. And then you will be able to be in there and answer questions. You're in great company, because Barack Obama's on there, Bill Clinton's on there. I mean, you know, really everybody is on Quora. It's a wonderful way of actually, you know, if Barack Obama had answered a question, you could actually then go back and say, President Obama, because you call them president, don't you, even after they've retired. President Obama, I thought it was very interesting what you said about XYZ. Could you possibly elaborate on it? And Barack will come back and answer you. It's absolutely amazing. Quora's fun, so do it. Right, okay, obviously speaking publicly, we can't do real world talks at the moment because I don't need to explain why, because we're not allowed out. But soon we will be. By the way, I had somebody contacted me earlier saying, when are we going to be allowed to start teaching again? I think most of us are slightly clear about when we can actually start opening our practices again. And I believe, because there's been no change to the legislation, but I believe that we are still within the kind of the remit of the close personal contact, things like the beauty salons and the hairdressers and so on. So that's actually opening up your actual practice for everything. But remember, under the current legislation, if you are treating injuries, accidents, injuries and accidents, pain syndromes, if you are treating mental emotional health or providing support for mental emotional health issues, or if you are treating people for whom their condition would get worse if the treatment was withheld, then you are allowed to keep seeing them. Okay, so remember, the CMA was instrumental in getting that legislation through, and the government recognized that and named us by name. So that was rather good. That was last year. Okay, so yeah, speaking publicly, I'm just going to check my notes because we're coming towards the end of the session. Yes, identify opportunities to formally share your expertise and thoughts. Think about topics on which you could speak and who needs to know about you and what you have to offer. Again, going back to doing the avatar work, it will really help to shape who you need to contact in order to offer yourself as an expert. Okay, now please, when you offer yourself as an expert, please make sure you're not wasting the person's time, or maybe perceived as wasting the journalist's time, or the podcaster's time, or what have you. Make sure you do your homework. That is absolutely crucial. If you don't do your homework and you go off half-cocked and don't really know what they talk about, you're just going to end up with egg on your face, and that's never a good look. Okay, so just make sure you do your homework. What I find is, and this has happened to me a lot, some of you will have heard me talk about this. I used to ghostwrite a health article for the Sunday, for a writer in the Sunday Times, and sometimes he'd have time to write his own articles, and sometimes he'd just contact me and say, look, Janie, I've got to get 1,000 words in on XYZ. Could you possibly do it for me? And he would very, very kindly do the article, publish the article under his own byline, which is fine as a ghostwriter, but he would always mention the Complementary Medical Association and our website address and say, the leading organization, la, la, la. And so every week, pretty much, I would get the CMA into the Sunday Times, even though it wasn't under my own name. In the end, because he felt very grateful for all this unpaid help that I was giving him, he then got it, he worked it so that I ended up getting a double page spread in the Sunday Times for the launch of my great big fat encyclopedia. The one, it's called Complementary and Alternative Health, the what is it called? The scientific verdict on what really works. That's right. That's the book, the great big directory encyclopedia that I did for Collins. And they gave me a double page spread for that. And it sold like wildfire, like hotcakes. So, by doing these favors, what goes around does come around, honestly. And journalists are honest enough to know when you are really doing them a big favor. So never be concerned. I mean, still, as I said, I'm still getting name checked. The CMA was getting name checked. And I'll be honest with you, to get the name, CMA, and the website address into the Sunday Times in a great big long health column, which is really, really well read, would have cost thousands in advertising spend. So it's still worth it, even just to, put out 1,000 words, not under my own name. So, it's really interesting, what you can do. So finally, and we'll come on to the questions if anybody has any questions in a minute. This is your business. Your career is your business. If you want to advance, you can just sit there and do nothing, and that's not really going to change anything, or you can take action. And I really do hope you will, because what we've spoken about today it's very valuable. These are things that will make a massive, massive difference to your work. They will make a massive difference to your career. And I really do hope that you will take action. It's just, it's silly not to, you know. So have we got any questions today? Has this been clear? Let's have a little look. Right, okay. So Joe was here. Joe was saying he has to teach, so JC's taking notes. Hello, I loved you all. Hi. Okay. Hi, JC. Lovely to have you here. Sandra Shackleton, our lovely Sandra, says, I've just created a digital business card which allows links to socials, videos and photos. That sounds fabulous. Sandra, which one are you using, if you don't mind sharing?
Oh, hi. We had an online group and someone mentioned it in America, another kinesiologist. We're talking about networking. And I use DBiz, so DIBIZ.com. So you can make a free card. There's lots of templates. You can bring your own pictures in. I paid $30 for the year, which is like a half price offer that's on because of COVID. You can put multiple videos on, multiple photographs. I've got links to websites, the CMA page. I put the CMA logo on.
Great.
It looks fabulous. It's just, and it's got all my colours and everything that I use for all my advertising.
Yeah.
And it looks so professional. Then it's got the little buttons and you can link to all your socials if you've got them, phone call, and there's a contact page. And you can get a lot of it on the free content if you don't want to. The free one has just got a little block saying DBiz on your page, but you know, for $30 for 12 months.
Money well spent, isn't it, Sandra? Yeah, that's fab.
And the thing about it, it's shareable on any platform.
Great. That is fantastic. Thank you. What would be lovely, Sandra, would be if in the, let me think about, in the CMA members group, would you be able to just maybe do like a little screenshot to show what it looks like? And then maybe if you could just tell us, you know, share with the group perhaps, you know, what the link is. That would be fabulous.
Yeah, I think I'll be able to post it on the page, and I'll put a little bit of information about what I've found out about it and how usable it is. Because if, for instance, you create a card and it goes out to everyone you know, and then you realise you've got to change your website or your number or anything, you do that on their site and it updates theirs. So it stays current, and you can keep going into it and putting new pictures up, anything you like.
Oh, that sounds absolutely fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Sharon. Sandra, that's really, really lovely. That really is.
Yeah, I've been telling everybody about it since I started looking at it.
Well, it's valuable, isn't it? I mean, and so, you know, for such little money, I think that is absolutely fantastic. So I love the fact that it updates. I think that's absolutely brilliant. Thank you.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's lovely. Right, Joe says, hi all, I'm just showing one of my students what all the benefits are of joining the CMA. Hope you're all well. Joe, how lovely. Thank you very, very much. What a lovely thing to do. Sharon Pick says to everybody, if it helps, I work as an intolerance tester, and after a bit of work with environmental health, I'm now allowed to work. Oh, that's very good. Yes, it does help. Yeah, Sharon, are you still in the group? I know that we are slightly overrunning. I'm just going to change.
I'm here.
Hi, hello, lovely. Yeah, there you are, Sharon. Right. Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about that, Sharon?
Yes, so I listened to the wonderful talk you gave, and thankfully I have a friend who works in the local council, and I said, have you got a contact detail for me? Because if you've ever tried it, anybody, it's a nightmare getting to the right person and asking somebody for help. So she gave me the right email address. And then a week later, I did a really 2 A4 side proper long thing about, testimonials and let me work and all this. And then they called me back, and I really had to spend about half an hour explaining everything. And I almost had to get to the point of saying, surely if you're in pain and see a chiropractor with your bad back, surely if you've got IBS pain, you should be able to see an intolerance tester. And it's like, I don't see the difference. So she then, that was in Solihull, she then spoke to Birmingham on my behalf, and together they both said, yes, it was fine. But I had to specify what I used to disinfect the rooms with, what masks I use. But I gave them, as Joe said, I sent in my risk assessment, my screening form, my guidelines. So that was a brilliant talk, and well worth asking, because we could be in lockdown again for all we know next November. So it's worth doing it now, I think, ready for the future, personally.
I think you're absolutely right. Yes, thank you for raising that. I wouldn't be at all surprised if we are back in lockdown. So yes, and I know that the discussion is that they're looking at booster jabs for everybody. We're not going to get into the jab discussion because that is, that's just never ending, isn't it? But yeah, I think you're very, very wise. I think that we will certainly potentially see another lockdown. So yeah, we've got to get our ducks in a row, everybody, and make sure that we've got things like multiple streams of income going and so on and so forth. So that's absolutely super, Sharon. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm so glad that that other tutorial that we did with Joe, it was the one with Joe, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, Joe's such a superstar. We love you, Joe. Right. If people don't know, Joe Baker is the CMA's political advisor. He is a practitioner and does all sorts of amazing things, former mayor of Redditch, and he's just I call him pastry fingers. He's got a finger in every pie, So. Freya says, hello, lovely Freya. Thank you, Jenny. Never heard of Haro, but signed up straight away. Great. Yeah, use it. The examples I gave you today, yeah, they're not totally appropriate for everybody, but because it comes through every day, just flick through it. Don't spend too much time, but flick through it, and you'll see that there will be things that you can respond to. As I say, Rebecca Lockwood, that gorgeous, lovely Rebecca, she just grew her business dramatically. She thought when lockdown happened, she thought that was it. She really thought she had no business. She thought that was the end of things. And so, just goes to show, doesn't it, that actually from March to December, which is when we had her on just before Christmas, she'd actually turned over 260,000, and she was offering her training courses online. She wasn't doing massive amounts of Facebook ads or anything like that. So it was very high profitability. So, good for her and well deserved. She's a beautiful person and doing wonderful work in this world. So there we go. Rob says he's interested in the ebook. Hello, Rob. Yeah, does the recording? No, it doesn't. No, the recording doesn't go straight onto the Janie Goddard Facebook page. This recording, it's a CMA tutorial, and it goes onto the CMA YouTube channel. Okay, so what actually happens is that we take the recording, and Megan just tops and tails it, because usually at the beginning of the recording, we start the recording right away normally. At the beginning of the recording, it's me and Roberta getting into the room, just getting everything set up and all the rest of it. And we're chatting away. Hi, Roberta, how are you doing? La, la, la. And you see, the thing is, we have to have a catch up because, Roberta, you can attest to this, it's not really your working day, is it? You're supposed to be having a day off on Fridays.
I am, yes. So that's as usual. I'm here, but it's just good fun, and it's lots of knowledge and quite light-hearted at times. So it's super.
Yeah.
But yeah, we usually do need to catch up. We're hugely busy just now, doing lots of different things. So sometimes, apart from WhatsApping and things like that, within our group of people at work here, we don't ever speak to each other some days. So yeah, it's nice to have a catch up, but it's nice to get it cut out as well.
That's right, absolutely. It's so funny today, actually, everybody, because what we do is every week on a Friday, what happens is that we just take a quick sort of head count of the number of new CMA members for the week. And it's really funny because Roberta sent the list of new members. There were 11 new members at that point. And she sent it through directly on 11/11 this morning. And I thought, oh, spooky. I thought, oh, this is an enchanted week, isn't it? And then suddenly another, was it 3 members or 4 members? I can't remember. It suddenly appeared out of nowhere, didn't they?
Yeah. So, yeah, I didn't mean to send it at 11 minutes past 11. It's just how it works out. But it shows I'm actually working and Janie's not got the whip out,
Absolutely, yeah.
It's all good. It's all good fun. Good fun.
Yeah, very much so. Yes, this is a really nice sort of end of the week. It's quite like to have it on a Friday. It might not be the best time to have it, but it's quite a nice sort of punctuation to the end of the week. Having said that, we often end up working over the weekend as well, but that's a story for another time. Charlotte, our lovely Charlotte. Hello, Charlotte. She says, thank you very much. Very useful information. Certainly check out your suggestions. Need to go now. That's absolutely fine. It's so lovely to have you here. Charlotte, I know you're still here, but please, if you need to dash, please do. We're stopping now because I've got another broadcast in the USA starting in about 20 minutes, so I need to get prepped for that. But before I do go, are there any questions at all? Or are you happy? Is it clear? Is there anything that you need me just to sort of cover off, or are we okay? Okay? Give me a thumbs up if we're okay. Yes. Okay, fine. All right, lovely. I'm glad to hear it. Thank you so much, everybody. Enjoy the sunshine. I hope it's going to be a lovely sunny weekend. We need it. We deserve it, don't we? Get yourselves out and get some vitamin D. Lots of love to you all. Thank you. Bye-bye.